At this stage of my life, well into my 70s, I find myself looking back far more often than I used to. Sometimes it happens while sitting quietly with a warm cup of tea or while listening to the soft ticking of a clock late at night. The years, once so fast and full, have slowed down, giving me plenty of time to reflect. If I could sit across from my younger self, that ambitious man in his 40s or 50s, I'd smile gently and say, "You think you know how life works, but there's still much to learn." Back then, I chased schedules, careers, and responsibilities. I thought if I kept moving forward, everything would fall into place. And for a while, it did. But as the years stretched on, life taught me things I hadn't even known I was missing. The ambitions faded, and what remained were the moments I once overlooked, the quiet Sunday mornings, the laughter of grandchildren, the comforting presence of old friends, and the simple joy of still being here. I don't share these reflections with any regret. If anything, I share them with deep gratitude. Life never stops teaching, even in its final chapters, if only we're willing to listen. That's why I'm sitting here today, speaking softly to you, whether you're 50, 60, or even my age, to share some of the things I wish I had known earlier. Not because I wish to rewrite my story, but because, perhaps, these lessons may make your own journey a little lighter, a little warmer, and a little richer. So pour yourself a cup of tea, settle into a comfortable chair, and spend a few moments with me. These are the lessons I wish I had known before I turned 60. If there's one thing I wish I could have truly understood when I was younger, it's this. Health isn't something you can borrow against. It's the foundation of everything else. And once it starts to slip, no amount of money, effort, or regret can easily bring it back. When I was in my 40s and 50s, I rarely gave it much thought. I worked long hours, stayed up late, skipped meals when life got busy, and shrugged off the occasional ache or pain. Exercise seemed like something for athletes or people with too much free time. Doctor visits? Only if something was clearly wrong. I felt strong, invincible even. But now, as I sit here in my late 70s, I see how quietly those early choices accumulated. The joints are stiff more often than not. The walks are slower. Sleep is lighter, often interrupted by aches that didn't exist before. And even the common cold feels heavier, lingering longer than it once did. Looking back, I realize how much I underestimated the gift of simple movement. I didn't need grand workouts or gym memberships. A daily stroll, some light stretching, or even just a bit of gardening would have kept my muscles stronger and my heart healthier. Small daily habits, that's all it would have taken. And food, oh, how I wish I had treated food more as nourishment than convenience. The easy meals, the processed snacks, the sweetened drinks, they seemed harmless then, but slowly they wore my body down. These days, I find comfort in fresh vegetables, simple proteins, and plenty of water. I only wish I had started decades earlier. Sleep, too, is a lesson I learned late. In my younger years, I thought nothing of burning the midnight oil, but sleep is not wasted time. It's when the body repairs, resets, and heals. Skipping rest comes at a cost, one I feel now, most nights. Today, every minor illness, every stiff morning reminds me that health is truly the bedrock of life. Without it, even simple joys, a walk with my grandchild, a chat with an old friend, become burdensome. But I share this not to discourage you, but to encourage you. If you still have your health, treasure it, guard it fiercely. Even small changes today, a walk, a healthy meal, an earlier bedtime, can preserve the vitality that allows you to enjoy life's simplest and most beautiful moments. If I've learned anything across these many decades, it's how fleeting time truly is. When you're young, time feels endless. You assume there will always be another holiday, another phone call, another chance to visit. But somewhere along the way, you wake up and realize how many of those next times quietly slip through your fingers. I spent much of my earlier years focused on building a career, managing responsibilities, and chasing goals that, at the time, seemed so important. I told myself, once this busy season is over, I'll take that trip. Once I retire, I'll visit more often. Once things calm down, I'll call. But life has a funny way of never truly slowing down, and people don't wait. Now, in my late 70s, many of the people I once assumed would always be there are gone. Some drifted away as life took us in different directions. Others left this world altogether. And with each absence, I've come to understand how precious and fragile our moments together really are. The laughter around a dinner table, the quiet conversations during long walks, the unspoken comfort of simply sitting in the same room together. These aren't small moments, they are life itself. Looking back, I wish I had put down the phone more often, turned off the television, and simply been present. The emails could have waited, the deadlines would have passed. But the opportunity to hold my grandchild's hand, to listen to my spouse's stories, or to visit an aging parent, those were irreplaceable. There were weekends I skipped family gatherings because of work obligations. There were birthdays I missed, thinking I could make it up next year. But some of those next years never came. I carried that weight for some time, and while I've forgiven myself, I've also learned from it. Now I make it a point to cherish every gathering, no matter how small. I've learned that it's not about grand vacations or elaborate plans. Sometimes it's a simple Sunday breakfast or a spontaneous phone call that creates the most meaningful memories. Even sitting quietly next to someone you love, saying nothing at all, can become a moment you carry in your heart forever. The truth is, we never know how many more of these moments we will be given. None of us do. The calendar pages turn more quickly than we realize. One day, you're chasing toddlers, and seemingly the next, you're holding your great-grandchild for the first time, wondering where all the years went. I say this not to fill you with regret, but to remind you the people you love won't always be here, and neither will you. Make the call, schedule the visit, hold the hand, listen a little longer, stay a little later. Capture the moment with your heart, not just with a camera. Because in the end, when the house is quiet and the years have settled, it won't be the missed promotions or undone tasks that linger in your heart. It will be the faces, the voices, the stories, and the shared laughter of those you loved. And trust me, nothing in this world is more valuable than that. If you had met me decades ago, you would have seen a man who thought money was the solution to almost everything. Like many of my friends, I worked hard, sometimes too hard, chasing promotions, building savings, and dreaming of financial security that always seemed just a little out of reach. Back then, it felt like there was always one more thing to buy, one more goal to achieve, one more level of comfort to reach. a bigger house, a newer car, a better vacation. I told myself that once I reached that next milestone, life would finally feel complete. But of course, that finish line kept moving. Now, as I sit quietly in my late 70s, I realize how little of that truly mattered. Don't get me wrong. Financial stability is important. Having enough to live comfortably, to care for your family, to handle life's unexpected turns. These are blessings, but the constant pursuit of more can become a trap if you're not careful. I've seen people exhaust themselves chasing wealth long after they already had more than enough. They traded time with loved ones for longer hours at work. They sacrificed health for one more business deal. They carried stress and anxiety like heavy luggage that never seemed to lighten, even as their bank accounts grew. Looking back, I wish I had learned to distinguish between what is enough and what is excess. Enough allows you to sleep peacefully at night, knowing your needs are met. Excess often only feeds worry, fear of losing what you've gained, or jealousy of someone who has more. Some of my most cherished memories were made in simple places. A small cabin by the lake, a picnic at the park, playing cards with old friends, or just sharing coffee on the front porch with my spouse. None of these required great wealth, just time, presence, and love. I've also seen how possessions, once so important, become burdens as the years go on. Closets full of clothes no longer worn, shelves lined with items gathering dust. Even the large house that once felt like a symbol of success now echoes with emptier rooms, harder to maintain with aging hands. At some point, you realize that life isn't about what you own. It's about who you share it with. The warm hug of a grandchild means more than any luxury purchase. The laughter of old friends carries far greater value than any investment portfolio. If I could offer my younger self advice, it would be this: build your financial life to support your real life, not to replace it. Save wisely, yes. Prepare for the future, absolutely. But don't postpone joy waiting for someday, because someday often comes faster than you think, and sometimes it doesn't come at all. True wealth is found in health, relationships, peace of mind, and meaningful moments. A modest home filled with love is richer than any mansion filled with loneliness. A simple meal shared with family can feel like a banquet when your heart is full. Now, when I look at my life, I don't count dollars. I count birthdays, anniversaries, quiet mornings, and the precious time I still have with the people I love. And that, I've learned, is the greatest wealth of all. In my younger years, I carried a quiet but constant weight, the pursuit of perfection. I wanted to be the perfect husband, the perfect father, the perfect employee, the perfect provider. I wanted every detail in my life to be just right. The clean house, the well-behaved children, the flawless career. I thought that if I could keep everything in order, happiness would naturally follow. But perfection, as I've learned in these later years, is a heavy and dangerous illusion. It whispers to you that you're never quite enough, that there's always something else you should be doing, fixing, or improving. And while you're chasing after that impossible standard, life quietly slips past you. I can still remember times when I allowed small imperfections to ruin what should have been joyful moments. A family dinner where I noticed a burned dish instead of focusing on the laughter around the table. A vacation where I fretted over an unexpected rainstorm instead of embracing the beauty of simply being away with my loved ones. Little things, but they added up. Looking back, I realize how often I allowed my need for control to rob me of peace. I worried about what others might think. I stressed over things far beyond my power to change, and in doing so, I sometimes missed the sweetness of imperfect, beautiful, ordinary life. Now, at this stage of life, I've come to understand something deeply freeing. Life is not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be lived. The house doesn't always have to be spotless. The lawn can have weeds. The photo doesn't need to be picture perfect for the memory to be precious. Some of my most cherished moments are the ones that didn't go as planned. The backyard birthday party, where the cake fell apart, but everyone laughed and sang anyway. The family road trip, where we got lost, but discovered a charming little town along the way. The holidays, where plans changed at the last minute, yet love filled the room just the same. Perfection can isolate us. It creates distance between us and others, and even within ourselves. But when we allow room for imperfection, we invite grace, laughter, and genuine connection into our lives. I've also learned to forgive myself for not always being perfect. I made mistakes, as a husband, as a parent, as a friend. There are words I wish I had said, and others I wish I hadn't. But I've come to see that love isn't about being flawless. It's about being present, honest, and willing to grow. If I could sit with my younger self, I would say, loosen your grip. Let go of the need to have everything just so. Life is far too short to waste on worrying whether every detail is perfect. Focus instead on being present, kind, and open to the beautiful messiness of living. The wrinkles on my face, the creaks in my joints, the gray in my hair, they are all reminders that life has unfolded as it was meant to. Not perfectly, but richly. And that, my friend, is more than enough. One of the greatest lies we tell ourselves as we age is, it's too late. Too late to learn something new. Too late to mend a broken relationship. Too late to pursue a passion. Too late to change. I believed that lie for a time. I used to think that certain doors had closed permanently simply because I was past a certain age. After all, wasn't learning new things meant for the young? Wasn't change something for those with more time ahead of them? Wasn't the best of life already behind me? But as I sit here in my late 70s, I can tell you life has surprised me again and again. And one of its most beautiful surprises is this: it's never truly too late, unless you decide it is. In my mid-60s, I took up painting for the very first time. I had never considered myself creative, and I certainly hadn't held a paintbrush since school. But with encouragement from my wife and a bit of curiosity, I signed up for a community art class. The first few paintings were humble, even clumsy, but I found joy in the process. The colors, the quiet focus, the simple act of creating. That little hobby has since become one of my greatest sources of peace and fulfillment. In my early 70s, I reconnected with an old friend I hadn't spoken to in decades. We had drifted apart over some long-forgotten disagreement, both too stubborn to reach out. But one day, I made the call. And just like that, years of distance melted away in a single conversation filled with laughter, apologies, and shared memories. That friendship has brought light into my later years, a light that would have stayed dark had I not dared to reach out. I've seen others around me find love again after losing a spouse, go back to school in their 60s, learn new languages, write books, volunteer in ways that deeply impact others, all long after society might have expected them to simply slow down. The truth is, aging may change the pace of our bodies, but it doesn't have to shrink the possibilities of our minds or hearts. As long as you're breathing, there are still pages left to write in your story. We often forget that many of life's richest joys don't require youth. They require courage, curiosity, and a willingness to embrace imperfection. Whether it's planting a garden, learning to play an instrument, mending a broken bond, or simply learning how to slow down and appreciate the present moment. Every day carries the seed of new beginnings. If I could sit across from my younger self, or from you, I would say, don't let fear or pride convince you that your time has passed. Life is remarkably generous to those who remain open to its gifts. Even now, with gray hair, slower steps, and more candles on my birthday cake than I care to count, I wake up each morning knowing there's still more to see, to learn, and to give. And that, my friend, is what keeps life beautiful, right up to the very end. As I sit here, having shared these few lessons with you, I'm reminded once again of how precious these conversations are. Life is full of noise, busy schedules, endless distractions. But when we pause to reflect, to truly listen, something very gentle happens inside us. You see, I didn't share these thoughts because I believe I have all the answers. Far from it. I shared them because I've walked this long road, and perhaps some of what I've learned along the way might help lighten your own path, whether you are younger, my age, or somewhere in between. The truth is, we are all still learning, even at 75, even at 80, and that in itself is a gift. If you found something in today's conversation that made you stop and think, maybe a small reminder, a bit of comfort, or even a gentle nudge to call a loved one or take better care of your health, then I am deeply grateful. I'd love to continue walking this journey with you. If these reflections speak to your heart, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Here, we'll continue to share more life lessons, personal stories, and quiet wisdom that I hope will bring you peace, encouragement, and a sense of companionship wherever you are in your life's journey. And if you know someone, a friend, a sibling, a neighbor, who might find comfort or value in these words, feel free to share this video with them. Sometimes the smallest gestures can brighten someone's day in ways we may never fully realize. Thank you for spending these moments with me. Until next time, take gentle care of yourself. And remember, life may not always be perfect, but it is always precious.